The cult of busyness, why we run from ourselves. We live in a culture that treats exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as a measure of human worth. From our earliest years, we are conditioned to believe that rest must be earned, and that empty space on a calendar is a failure of discipline. We have tied our identity to what we produce, creating an environment where sitting quietly with one's own thoughts feels uncomfortable, or even terrifying. This deep-seated fear of inactivity was strikingly demonstrated in a famous study, led by Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia. Researchers placed over 700 participants in a quiet room alone for just 6 to 15 minutes, with no phone, no reading material, and no distractions. The only object in the room was a button that, if pressed, delivered a mild electric shock. Despite knowing the shock was uncomfortable, 67% of men and 25% of women chose to shock themselves rather than simply sit in silence with their own minds. This experiment exposes a profound modern truth. We are so conditioned to seek external stimulation that we would rather experience physical pain than face our own internal landscape. We treat our minds like untamed, hostile environments rather than safe places to rest. The biological and neurological need for stillness. When we demand constant focus from ourselves, we ignore how the human brain actually functions. Neurologically, the brain operates in two primary modes: the task-positive network TPN and the default mode network DMN. Task-positive network TPN activates when you are actively engaged in external tasks, answering emails, solving spreadsheets, or following instructions. Default mode network DMN turns on when you engage in doing nothing, daydreaming, letting your mind wander, or resting quietly. The text emphasizes that when we enter a do-nothing state, the brain is not shutting down. It is superpowering itself. In this resting state, neural networks process experiences, consolidate memories, reinforce learning, and balance our emotional responses. When you cut off the default mode network by staying continuously busy, your brain loses its opportunity to clean up its internal files. Over time, this leads to severe mental fatigue, poor decision-making, and what psychotherapists recognize as emotional saturation. The high cost of overwork, burnout, and suppressed emotion. Human beings are not biologically designed to expend energy without pause. In his work featured in the New York Times, productivity researcher Tony Schwartz highlighted that a lack of restfulness and sleep is the single greatest predictor of on-the-job burnout. This burnout carries a massive financial and social cost. A Harvard study cited by Schwartz revealed that sleep deprivation and chronic overwork cost American companies an estimated $63.2 billion a year in lost productivity. From a therapeutic perspective, constant activity often serves as a defense mechanism, a way to outrun unpleasant emotions, unresolved grief, or existential anxiety. Therapeutic insight. As psychotherapist Stephanie Brown observes, there is a widespread belief that emotional reflection slows us down and gets in the way of achievement. However, suppressing negative feelings only gives them more power, causing them to resurface as intrusive thoughts that prompt us to become even busier to avoid them. When you refuse to sit quietly and acknowledge what you're feeling, those emotions do not disappear. They lodge themselves in your nervous system, expressing themselves as chronic stress, sudden anger, or deep fatigue. Stillness as the birthplace of insight and health. Far from hindering achievement, structured moments of stillness are essential for high-level problem-solving, original thinking, and long-term well-being. Cultivating the intuitive mind. Albert Einstein famously contrasted the rational mind, which he called a faithful servant, with the sacred intuitive mind. True innovation rarely happens when we are forcing our brains to concentrate on a task. It emerges when we step away, allow the mind to wander, and create space for unexpected connections to form. Building psychological resilience. Cultivating stillness through mindfulness directly lowers stress, sharpens memory, reduces emotional reactivity, and decreases symptoms of anxiety and depression. It allows you to respond to life's challenges with clarity rather than knee-jerk panic. Preventing systemic failure. Continuous focus leads to life-shortening stress and forces us to neglect fundamental areas of life, such as physical health, family, and peace of mind. Giving yourself permission to rest periodically ensures you maintain a healthier, happier lifestyle while actually achieving your long-term goals. Essayist Tim Kreider summarized this necessity by noting that idleness is not a luxury, a vacation, or a moral flaw. It is as indispensable to the human brain as vitamin D is to the body. Without quiet space to stand back and view life as a whole, we suffer a mental affliction that prevents us from doing our best work or living a truly fulfilling life. Practical steps to reclaim stillness. Integrating stillness into a hyper-connected world requires intentionality. Restoring your nervous system does not require moving to a monastery. It begins with small, deliberate daily practices. 1. Practice the 5-minute pause. Set aside 5 minutes once or twice a day to sit without your phone, computer, or background music. Allow your thoughts to wander without judging them or attempting to solve them. 2. Build do-nothing intervals. Incorporate intermittent breaks during your workday. Step away from your desk, stretch, or look out a window to transition your brain from task-focused work to open-ended rest. Decouple worth from productivity. Remind yourself that your value as a human being is not determined by external output or societal validation. Resting is an act of self-preservation, not a personal failure. By treating stillness not as empty time, but as essential maintenance for your body, mind, and spirit, you reclaim your ability to live a balanced, creative, and deeply meaningful life.